But what if we wanted to be able to enter some data? So if we wanted to say, ask the user what is your city name? And we run this code, you can see that being printed. But there's no way for the user on this side to be able to give our code some data to work with. In order to do that, instead of using the print function, we're going to use a different function, and it's called the input function. So welcome to 100 Day of Code Journey, and today we are going to learn the prompt function in Python. So if you are new to our channel, then don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out your learning. This is the name of the function, and again, it's followed by some parentheses. Inside the parentheses is the prompt that I'm going to give the user. So when I run this code, it will say, what is your city name? And then the cursor will stay at the end of this line because it's expecting some sort of input. If I give it my city name, Dubai, and I hit enter, then this piece of data has now been passed back into my code, and it now replaces this part of the code. So I'm passing data from over here, back to over here where I can use it in my code. Now notice the difference here. It looks quite similar. When we run print, you can see it says what is your city name? And then the code execution ends, and we know it ends because it's showing us this little orange arrow. But notice when I run input instead, I don't see the orange arrow. My program is actually paused right now in order for the user to provide an input, and it's only when I've given the input and hit enter does the program end. The input function looks pretty much identical to the print function, but instead of the word print, it's just got the word input. And inside the parentheses, instead of adding what text will be printed, we're adding the prompt for the user to give them a hint as to what kind of data we want. And then when you run this code, it will print out the prompt, but then there will be a cursor. In some places you'll see it like a flashing cursor, other places it'll just be a solid cursor ready for the user to type in some piece of data. So what can we do with this data? Well, we can use it inside our code. Remember how I said once this line of code executes and I've entered Dubai as the response to this input, then this part of the code gets replaced by whatever it is that the user typed in. So in this case it becomes Dubai. And what I can do with it is, let's say I wanted to print something like, hello Dubai. Well, then I can simply write hello plus input, and then I'm going to close it off with another set of brackets. So I'm going to change my layout. Instead of side by side, I'm going to change it to stacked. And this means that I've got my code at the top and my console at the bottom. This way my line can go a little bit longer without it wrapping. Notice what's happening here. This is the input function that I showed you earlier on, and this is a print statement. So we've got this nested inside the other. And now when I run my code, what happens is it asks me what is your city name. So I'll write my city name, and then when I hit enter, this part is replaced by Dubai, and it gets concatenated to the word hello, and the entire thing gets printed out down here. So what a lot of programmers love to do is they like to comment in their code. Now, you might have seen this already throughout the coding exercises and the solutions I provided. But in Python, if you wanted a line of text to not be considered by the computer at all you have to do is add the hashtag in front of your text, and this turns it into a comment. So something that the computer will completely ignore. So in here you can write code as much as you like, but it won't be executed, and when you click run, you'll see that this is completely ignored. What I recommend is whenever you come across a new concept in the course to make a comment above it so that you can explain to yourself what's actually going on in the line of code below. This way the next time you come across this line of code and you're not quite sure what's actually happening here, you can have a look at the notes that you've written for yourself in your own words, and hopefully it'll re-jog your memory and make it much easier to comprehend what's going on. In addition to adding a hashtag sign manually, you can also highlight a line of code or simply have your cursor on a line of code and hold down Command and / if you're on Mac, or Control and / if you're on Windows. And if you want to go back or undo your changes, it's simply Command Control + Z. Alright, so in this lesson we learned about input function. We learned about putting functions inside other functions and being able to get user input from the console by using the input function. Now it's time for you to practice for this code. And I'm going to get you to apply what you've learned so far for you in the next lesson, and if you've commented this line of code thoroughly and you fully understood how it works, then you'll be able to breeze through the next exercise. So for all of that and more, I'll see you on the next lesson.